So first of all, I am just thrilled by this turnout, and it really says a lot about the nature of the positions that whose leadership transitions are about to take place, as well as the kind of people that are going to be entering those positions. So let us begin, though, most appropriately, as we often do with our public events, and that's with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much, everybody. So I wanted to say a couple of things up front. First of all, I wanted to recognize the many public officials here, and I say many, there are an awful lot, and in no particular order. I always start with mayors first, so I want to just thank former Mayor Fred Kalitz for being here today. I want to thank Sheriff Tom Hodgson, who is listed here. I didn't see Tom. Where are you, Sheriff? Thank you for being here today, Sheriff. Many city councilors today, and I hope we got a complete list. And in no particular order, City Council President Linda Morad, who's here up front, whom you'll hear from in a moment. City Councilors Dana Ribeiro, Ian Abreu, Joe Lopes, Naomi Carney, and I'm sure there are other city councilors. Wave if I have not. Brian Gomes, of course. Yes, would not miss it. A member of the search committee for the police chief position. Anybody else? There's got to be some more councilors. Who? Oh, the district attorney's here. Tom Quinn. And I have no excuse. I walked right by Tom Quinn. The DA matters in these things, of course. Tom, thanks for being here. I know you wouldn't miss it. Mike Ferguson, the DEA, SAC, and law enforcement speak. That's special agent in charge. Mike, thank you for being here today. I know you have a great working relationship with the department. Our Portuguese consul, Pedro Canero, is here as well. And of course, State Representative Tony Cabral is here. I see Tony on the list. There's Tony right there in the front. And I think that's covered. But yell and scream if I missed you. The crowd is a large one today. Let me also begin too with some thanks to some folks who put in a lot of time into the search for a police chief. The charge from me as the mayor, as the appointing official, is that I wanted somebody in the chief's job who's first rate, who is capable of leading the department into the future, who would command the respect of the public as well as the department alike. And that's a weighty order, and I don't have all the answers. I do pride myself on having experience in law enforcement as a federal prosecutor, but I don't have all the answers. And I put it in the hands of a very talented group of folks who know New Bedford well, know it from different perspectives, and a number of them are here today. Councilor Brian Gomes, former Deputy Chief Kevin Hegarty, Acting Chief, of course, Dave Lizotte, Maria Rosario, thinking down. I'm doing this all from memory. Retired FBI Special Agent David Donahue, Loretta Burke, the neighborhood director, the director of the Cove Street Neighborhood Association, and am I missing anybody from the list? Oh, Bruce Rose, of course. Where's Bruce? And Eddie Craig, former police lieutenant, and Bruce Rose, the president of the Greater New Bedford NAACP. So I just want to thank all of you for that hard work. You made a great choice, made a great recommendation. You made, what for me was a choice that was very, very well informed. I want to thank James Russell, who's here today, for making this space available. I love the fact that we get to do big events here, except mayoral debates. With that one exception, we're so pleased to have this space available because it really is a window onto the splendor of the Port of New Bedford and to our historic district. And on a great day like this, it makes the occasion all the more auspicious. And it is appropriately auspicious because of, again, the nature of the positions that we're talking about today and the folks who are about to ascend to them. One of my daughters in school recently was like a lot of kids in school, going through the usual rite of passage, reading The Lord of the Flies. Right, so folks remember The Lord of the Flies. These kids get stranded on a desert island, do all kinds of crazy stuff, and it says something about how, you know, people treat one another, what they're inclined to do by their nature. It's a sort of a very cynical work in one respect. But I said to her, I said, you know, as you read that book, here's one thing to think about. What do you think, as you read the book, what do you think the role of government is? Why do we have government? And so she thought about that, and I think she gave me a pretty good answer, which is to keep people from fighting it out. You know, the first business of government is to keep people safe. That's why we're here today. That's why it matters so much. And the responsibility of doing that falls generally on us as a community, but it falls more than anywhere else on the police department. So police departments vary greatly across the United States. And as someone who worked in law enforcement for a while and worked with law enforcement agencies across America and at every level of government, I can proudly say that my work with, to the extent that I worked professionally with the New Bedford Police Department, it was always good, it was always very effective, but more importantly, by reputation, it really stood out, and people knew it. And that's something that I'm proud of. And today, what we're going to be talking about is how to make a very good department become a great department. There's a real opportunity to do that right now for reasons that I'll get into in a second. But one thing we have to take into consideration these days is that the nature of policing has become ever more complex. Police officers do much more than just slap the cuffs on people and send them off to jail, send them off to Tom's office. There's a lot more to it. Police officers do keep the peace. They do protect people's civil rights. They do keep people from fighting it out with one another. And they do make sure that people in general, even when they have the authority to exit, the legal authority to put somebody away, to charge somebody, they know when to slam on the brakes and say, you know what, there's another way to keep order. And that's where the discretion comes in. And these days, in an ever-complex society, it makes it all the harder. Meanwhile, they have to know something about data, they have to know something about criminal procedure, they have to know something about economic development. They have to be multifaceted. It's a tough job. And then you layer over that the stress that comes with it. Police officers can't, in an urban environment, can't go through the motions. It's not just a job you can drift through. You have to work hard, you have to be ready, you have to get up every morning and turn your motor on because the challenges are great and you have to be ready for them all the time. We here in New Bedford, as I said, have a great police department, and we've made real progress in the last few years. Crime is down in the city. Violent crime went down from 2014 to 2015 some 14%, which is a precipitous drop. And it continues to drop. It continues to drop for lots of reasons, but not the least of which is that our police department is on top of things. They are adjusting with the new challenges of the day. And in that way, I do want to note a couple of things. I really do want to note the really effective leadership that we've had in the department over the last few years. Chief Provencher was a terrific chief, and really helped establish a great foundation. Across the United States, police departments are in trouble with scandals and allegations of excessive force, civil rights violations. We don't have that here in New Bedford, and I think that's worth noting. We don't have that here in New Bedford because we've had a police department that has high professional standards that have been enforced, including by the person who's about to become the deputy chief, who's leaving professional standards, Paul Oliveira. And we have a department where people have been treated with consistency and transparency. And that's the way it should be. And we in New Bedford need to continue to set the standard for others. And we have leadership coming into place that is going to pick up that mantle and carry it on. I also want to thank in particular our acting chief, David Lazat, who was a tremendous compliment to Chief Provencher over 5 years, and who under very difficult circumstances in the last 6 months, kept it all going. And to ask you, thank you. Now that really said something, because I was about to ask you, could you give him a round of applause? And I didn't even get to the end of my sentence. You stood up and gave him a standing ovation, and he deserves it. So there is a strong foundation in place here in our city. And it is a foundation that is based on high standards of professionalism, and a commitment to excellence and of caring for the community. And so that's where we are today. And so it excites me. Even though the circumstances have been difficult in the last few months, I am excited about the future because we have coming in as chief and as a complementary deputy chief, a leadership team that knows what it's doing, that is the entire package, and that can get things done and bring our police department and help, and with that our city into a brighter future. I have to say that Joe Cordeiro is as prepared as anybody to become the police chief of this city, and certainly in my memory, and perhaps yours as well. He has everything that I'm looking for in a police chief. Someone who is passionate about our community, someone who has the technical skill, and there is immense technical skill that comes with that job, to carry it out effectively, who has the people skills to engender trust in every corner of the community and in the department, and who has a broader vision, who sees beyond the trees and sees beyond tomorrow and the next day, and looks at what we would like for our department and our city to be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. That's the kind of leadership we need, a leadership that can form an effective vision that complements all the other things that we're doing and reinforces everything else that we're doing as a city, but it also has the tools to implement it. And that's where we are today. Under difficult circumstances that we're coming out of, and also in a more complex environment, Joe's the man to do it. He really is. And so I couldn't be more pleased with the fact that his candidacy was available to the city, because I think it's a real opportunity for all of us to grow. Joe's already drinking from a fire hose now. He hasn't even been sworn in yet. He got a little vacation time in. We wanted to hold off. I think Christine would have killed me if we had done this before the vacation and sort of pulled. He probably would have been flying back on the plane after one day in Florida. I'm glad you guys got a chance to recharge. He's going to need it for the foreseeable future. But Joe Cordeiro is going to be a great chief, and I am so glad that Joe, you've thrown your hat in the ring, that you made that commitment to our city, not for any purpose related to seeking the limelight, but to make our city a better place, which is exactly what we would hope for in our police chief. And for Paul Oliveira, Paul is somebody not only I've known for a number of years, but also someone I've worked with professionally. Paul and I did cases together. He brought some cases to me in the U.S. Attorney's Office. One was kind of an easy case. He kind of made it. It was a big gun and drug case. A guy who was a big cocaine dealer named Shane Swan, who had a house on Belleville Avenue, and I like to take credit for making sure he went away for a while, but the reality was the guy was so brilliant he actually took a video of himself with bales of marijuana sitting behind him. So, you know, whenever a prosecutor can take credit for something that's a slam dunk, I really appreciate it. But Paul stands out, and there are other things that we worked on together, but Paul really stands out as somebody who has exceptional judgment, who doesn't take himself too seriously, but has the highest professional standards, and that's why he headed the professional standards department, internal affairs as it's called in most other places, and really ran that place the right way. And again, this is an area where other departments around the country are struggling, where they've looked the other way, where they have cut corners. Neither Paul nor Joe cut corners. They exercise judgment, but they have high standards, and that's exactly what we need right now as we move ahead. And I know that the department, that the police force here in our city is ready to get after it, because they know that these guys will have their back, but also be fair in every respect, and have a department that supports officers, but also gets the most out of them. I will say this. I also want to, just before we do the swearing in, I want to say that what police do these days is, as I said, as I've tried to emphasize, very important, but they don't do it alone. Police departments are not exclusively charged with keeping the peace. It requires all of us to play a part. That means landlords have to play a part. That means that other city departments have to play a part, whether it's in code enforcement or keeping the streets clean and neat, or in other ways. Our schools play a big part in it as well. Economic development plays a part. It all plays a part. We're trying to build a city that is stronger in every respect, and public safety is done by the police department as one big pillar, but it's not the only one. So these guys are going to need our help to be effective. And I know, and I want to thank Christine and their families up front, because you'll probably see less of your husbands in the next few weeks and few months, but know that it's just in the nature of starting off in something new. But as for those in law enforcement, for those in the police department know very well, it takes a family. It really does. I don't mean to sound cliche about it. Being an effective police officer entails undergoing a level of stress that most folks don't experience in their work lives. And so families do play a huge part in it. And I just want to say to all of you, thank you for your support of them. And because it really does matter. And what I'll say to them, and what I'll say to all of our police officers here, is on the opposite side of the coin, take time to out of your day, out of your week, however you see fit, to spend that a little extra time with your family. Sometimes it's kind of hard to lose. It's easy to lose sight of the fact of the role they play and how they're with you along the way. And I just want to say that you have a hard job, but don't let that get in the way of your family life, because they're there for you, and we all need that as well. So. With all that, I just want to congratulate all of you. I'm so pleased to have this new leadership team in place. They're going to do fantastic. And with that, I wanted to call up City Council President Linda Morad. The City Council has been extremely supportive of the department, whether budgetarily or otherwise. And I know that Joe has very good relationships with the City Council, and that's for good reason, because he, especially where he's in his command in the downtown office, has been very receptive and responsive to their calls as well as everybody's calls, but they know, the City Council knows very well that again, what we're doing here, the leadership transition in the police department is awfully important. So I just want to thank you, Linda, and the rest of the council for all of your support now and going into the future. Linda.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, everyone. It's my pleasure today to join with my colleagues that are here, Councilors Abreu, Carney, Gomes, Ribeiro, and Lopes, to be part of the new transition here in the city of New Bedford as we bring on board a new chief and a new deputy chief in our police department. I'm just going to say a few words. The Mayor touched on most of what the feelings are, I think, of my colleagues and I about this new team, and specifically Captain, soon-to-be Chief Cordeiro, and how we've interacted with him over the many years on the City Council. I think the City of New Bedford is very lucky. We're about to have a chief join us that will continue the tradition of the wonderful chiefs that the city has had, and a man here in the City of New Bedford who I know from our experience with him over the last 30-odd years will be able to react in a crisis situation the way we want our chief and our police department to react. But yet in a tragedy, we'll have the compassion for the families that are being affected in our city. In addition, this is a man who's proven more than once that he can be proactive, not just reactive. And in police work, that's so important. And I know that Joe and the deputy will push that forward with the men and women of our police department so that our neighborhoods can be safe and so that we have an ability to react so that we don't have issues within our neighborhoods. And finally, we have a gentleman here who listens. He's listened to this community for many years. He's listened to my colleagues, this mayor and several other mayors, and that's an important trait in a police chief. It's also an important trait that it's a man who knows how to say when he's wrong. And that Joe has done that in the past, and if in fact he makes an analysis and it's wrong, you know that he'll right it and do it correctly. He has the respect of the men and women in law enforcement in the city of New Bedford and throughout the region, and I know he's going to build on those relationships as he takes the reins. It's a lucky day here in the city of New Bedford. We have a new chief and we have a new deputy chief, and I'm looking forward to working with them. And to their families, thank you. Thank you for your sacrifice in the past. Thank you for what you will sacrifice going forward. Support them. As the mayor said, they will need help. Be there for them, and if we on the council can do anything to assist, please don't be afraid to ask. Congratulations to Chief Cordeiro and Deputy Oliveira, and on behalf of my colleagues, we'll invite you both to join us on May 26th in the City Council chamber. Not all of us could be here today. We'd love to have you come. Councilor Gomes, who is our representative on the search committee, will be there to welcome you and to present you with our official resolutions. Thank you very much for the opportunity to welcome the new team on board.
All right, I think we're ready for a swearing in, or swearings in. All right, Dennis Farias, City Clerk, come on down. And Joe, Chief Cordeiro. Come on up, Christine.
I, Joseph Cordeiro,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
perform the duties of Chief of Police
perform the duties of Chief of Police
to the best of my ability and understanding,
to the best of my ability and understanding,
in accordance with the Constitution of the United States,
in accordance with the Constitution of the United States,
the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
and the ordinances of the City of New Bedford.
and the ordinances of the City of New Bedford.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Chief.
Deputy Chief Paul Oliveira.
I,
Paul Oliveira,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
perform the duties of Deputy Chief of Police
perform the duties of Deputy Chief of Police
to the best of my ability and understanding,
to the best of my ability and understanding,
in accordance with the Constitution of the United States,
in accordance with the Constitution of the United States,
the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
and the ordinances of the City of New Bedford.
and the ordinance of the City of New Bedford.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. So it's my honor now to officially call to the podium by name and title Chief Joseph Cordeiro.
Wow. First of all, I've just been so blessed in all my life. Again, I have to thank God for all my blessings and bringing me to this point in my life. So thank you, God. And I want to thank Mayor Mitchell for giving me this incredible opportunity to lead and serve this great city and the men and women of the New Bedford Police Department. And I got to tell you, over the last few days, we've had several meetings with the mayor, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, Mayor, your genuine support that you've offered to ensure my success and the deputy's success. And it's heartfelt. When you have that type of support from your boss at the start, it gives you just a lot of confidence, and I mean that sincerely, how much that means to me. Thank you. And speaking of support, you know, since this process started, the support has just been immeasurable, humbling. And when I look around this room, it's just overwhelming. Family, friends, city councilors, you know, over the years, every one of you have been encouraging and supporting me to put in for this position. And your support, even during this process, has been great. And I ask everybody that's been supportive of myself and the deputy to continue that support for ourselves and the department, for us to continue to move forward to ensure that this city continues to progress in a safe manner. You know, the city councilors, you've been great to me, and I need that support, and I assure you I will continue to give that support to you in your very significant role in the city. You know, not too long ago, a few days ago, a reporter asked me, he says, well, I wasn't chief yet, but he was calling me chief. He says, are you going to have to change because of this new role, the role you're going to be taking? And my response was, no, I plan on having one foot in police headquarters and my other foot in the sidewalk in the city streets. It's my intention to not change one bit. You know, I want to hear from internally and externally everybody's concerns and their ideas, because the ideas are going to come most likely not from me. It's going to come from somewhere, outside or inside, and we need to entertain those so we can continue to grow and move. And in that same tone, a good friend of mine, he happens to be here today, a childhood friend of mine, Bear, called me up a couple of days ago and says, hey, congratulations, you know, since we were 12 years old playing baseball at Betsy Winslow School, you haven't changed, and I have no intention of changing and continuing on that path. You know, we're standing here today in the Whaling Museum, the biggest, most comprehensive museum in the world. And it reminds me of a couple people that have come out of the city of New Bedford, very famous people that did great things, and particularly in technology. Lewis Temple, who was in front of, statues in front of the main library, invented and created the harpoon mechanism that changed the whaling industry. And more recently, Dr. Irwin Jacobs and his company created the CDMA mobile wireless technology that we all have in our cell phone. He attended Pacheco School, an elementary school in the North End. And the building we're in right now, he was a major contributor to this building. And he's no longer, you know, no longer lives in the city, but he still cares about the city. And in between those two, there's been many great people that were come from the city that made significant changes in the world. And every day we have people in our cities who are great dads and great moms and coaches and volunteers and community leaders and elected officials like the mayor and the councilors that are contributing every single day in amazing ways. And that's a spirit of New Bedford that I love and that we have here. It's a caring spirit, people that care and want to do more. It is this spirit that we need. We need to be a city of one. Everyone coming together, everybody caring to do the right thing for the best interest of our city. You know, people ask me, well, why do you care so much? I'll tell you, you know, when I came to this country with my family from Portugal, it's been incredibly great to us, given us great opportunities. My brother and my sister, we've had great opportunities here with this city. It's given us so much. It's a great spirit. It's a caring spirit, and that's a spirit that we need to tap into. We need to start caring. We need to put a stake in the ground and invest in this city and each other. We need to care about our neighbors, strangers. We need you to help us. We need you to give us information It may seem minuscule to you and important, but it may be the last piece of the puzzle that we need, either to make a case or save a life. It may be a piece of information that we didn't even know about, wasn't even on our radar. We need it. It's important that we come together and get that to us. But we also have to understand that the police department, we can't be responsible for everything. We need your help. When you call us, we need the information that you have. And you know, sometimes we're going to need you to testify and go to court. I know it's an inconvenience, and it's a sacrifice. We know we have the DA here today, and he's got great people in court, victim and witness advocates that are going to guide you and comfort you through that process. And the police officers are going to help you too. Sometimes it takes a little bit of sacrifice to keep us moving in the right direction, to keep our city safe. We need your help. We need to be a city of one. Now everybody knows me, I'm no Einstein. But I'll tell you, Albert Einstein's going to help me a little bit because he put this in a much better way of communicating it. And this is what he had to say. He said, the world is a dangerous place to live, not because of the people who are evil, but because of the people who don't do anything about it. We can't be those people. We got to adopt the Nike slogan, we just got to do it. We got to step up and take care of each other so we can move together. This is a great city, it's a safe city, and that's the only way we make it safer and better. And I talked about we have various police stations throughout the department, and that's our home. My brother and sister's offices are all here. That's where we live most of the time. It's where our second family is. Well, I want to tell you that our casa is your casa. Come on in, we want you to feel welcome there. Come and see us. You're more than welcome. And I want to take a minute and talk about the police department. I think the mayor started talking a little bit about this. You know, nationally we're under a lot of scrutiny, our industry is. But the New Bedford Police Department is comprised of incredible people, both sworn and non-sworn. And our non-sworn people, the people that work in administrative services and our dispatch, answering the calls, sending us to the calls, in our record room, our detail office, they're doing a great job to support our main mission. The guy on the street, going to your house, answering those calls, and I'm grateful for that. And even more closer to my heart, my brother and sister officers that I look around, standing in uniform, those that are retired. I see Laney Belageron here, Pauline, Sandy Grace, I might be missing a few others. Dick Sproulette, I see him back there, Tacky, Deputy Chief Haggerty. I appreciate immensely the work that you do every day. You're professionals, you're dedicated to what we're trying to do out there. And I want to tell you, this job is a noble job. It's an honorable job that we have. I know the burdens you go through, leaving your home, and I know what kind of day you're going to have. I know what you're carrying. I'm not talking about this belt with all this equipment, because we get to take this off at the end of the day. That's easy. It's the other stuff that we carry. I know what it's like to feel fear while you're going down a dark alley, you're going into a building looking for a suspect to be lurking in the dark. I know what it's like to have to struggle physically with someone that's suffering from mental illness who you're trying to help and they're trying to hurt you. I know what it's like to feel helpless when you see a child that's been hurt or abused and your hands are tied by the oath that we took to protect the laws of our country. I know what it's like when you're in a car going to a car accident with bad accidents and not knowing what you're going to see, or to have to knock on a door and tell someone that they just lost a loved one in a fatal accident. I know what it's like to be in a SWAT team, standing in that line, waiting to get the tap on your back to go through that door and not know what's on the other side and what those events are going to be like. I understand that. I felt that with you. I know you have a friend in the corner office that gets you. I know what you're going through. You know, they call us New Bedford's finest. Not because we're different from the community, because we're no better than the community, but you are a special breed. And what do I mean by that is, I guess the best way to put it is, I'm going to use we have a very large painting at Station 1 that was painted by a local artist, Mr. McAfee. And in that painting you see Boston police officers in the Boston Marathon rushing to the explosion with hearts in their hands and civilians running away from the explosion. That's why you're New Bedford's finest, because you don't have the luxury to seek cover. We run to danger because of the people in our community. They depend on you and me to step up and get that done. They're vulnerable. They need us, and we need them. We need to be one. And when you're interacting with the public, I ask you to realize they're no different than we are. They're our families, they're our moms, they're our sisters, they're our brothers. Treat them as you want your family treated. Because at the end of the day, they are us and we are them. And it's going to require all of us together. We are a family in the Bedford Police Department. Those that have retired and those that are here. And like any family, we have our little skirmishes. No doubt about it. I'm asking you, put them behind you. Don't look in that rearview mirror. We need to look through that windshield, collectively, together. And I mean that as a team, as a family, so we can make this a better place to work and a safer city for the people that we've sworn to protect. So I want to leave you with this. First, I want to tell you, you are my second family, and you mean a lot to me and what you do. But I'll leave you with this. Not only to you, members of the New Bedford Police Department, but to our community. It's a quote from Bill Welch. To the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be the world. Thank you, and I need your support, all of you. Thank you very much.
No surprise, he's off to a great start. I would like now, for the first time, to call to the podium Deputy Chief Paul Oliveira. Paul.
Well, one thing I have learned over the last couple of days is not to speak after the chief or the mayor. But apparently I don't have a choice today, so I'll do my best. One thing I'll promise you, it'll be brief. I'd like to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude to Mayor Mitchell and Chief Cordeiro for having the confidence in me. And with that confidence, I appreciate it. Confidence to work with them for the betterment and safety of the city of New Bedford. I'm sure that our combined philosophies on crime and safety issues will prove to be a great asset to the city. Having grown up in the city, I have a vested interest in the people, businesses, schools, and streets here. We live in an era where access to drugs and weapons is much easier than we would ever want it to be. Working together, Chief Cordeiro and I, along with the fine men and women of the department, will be aggressive and proactive to decrease the current crime rate in the city. I look forward to working in conjunction with Chief Cordeiro and each and every member of the department to tackle any and all safety and crime issues. I'm extremely proud to be a member of the New Bedford Police Department and have a great deal of respect for the officers who put themselves at risk each day to keep the community safe. The department will continue to work in unity to provide the residents of New Bedford with a community they can be proud of. And one last note, I'd also make a special recognition to a good friend of mine and a mentor for more than half my career, Dave Lazard. And I just want to thank him for his 32 years of service. He'll be greatly missed.
So that is it for our program today. These guys are available for pictures. We've got some great backdrops. Just keep in mind they've got a lot of work to do, so don't hold them up for too long. Thank you, everybody, for coming out and supporting the department. Thank you.